ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930 present The Drive.
It is Friday, May 19th. Your drive begins now on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. I'm your host, Paul Swann. We're going to take your text this hour, 304-396-TALK. That's 304-396-8255. Coming up this hour, we've got two guests. First up is going to be Josh Perkey. There's a new project that's happening in Huntington. It's called the X-Dome, and it's going to benefit youth sports. We're going to talk to him about this project, what it's about, what it means, and, of course, why it's happening. That's coming up a little bit later on. And then about 5:30, we're going to talk to, from the Marshall track team, Mikah Alleyne. She's a senior from Beckley. She holds the record in the 400-meter hurdles. After winning at the Sun Belt Championship last week, she raced a 57.77, and she's going to be going to the NCAA East prelims later this month, so she will be with us about 5:30. And yesterday, I had cross-country coach Caleb Bowen on, and I asked him, hey, what's something I can ask Mikah about? What's something that I can throw at her? And he said, I want to know about her true feelings winning the 400. So that's going to be a question we'll ask her. And, of course, as I mentioned, the text line is open, 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. Yesterday was not a fun day for me, as we found out yesterday that Jim Birmingham, who was with the Huntington Blizzard for almost the entire time the Blizzard franchise was in existence, passed away. And so we were remembering him yesterday, and we got a lot of people on Twitter remembering Jim, and that made me feel really good that we could get together on Twitter and talk a little bit about Jim and remember him. And so, yeah, I saw some other things about him come out that really interesting. If you follow me on social media, and again, it's on Twitter, at Paul Swann, there was an interview that I hadn't seen that he was part of. It was around the time that he was inducted in the East Coast Hockey League Hall of Fame. So there's a good interview there. So if you follow me on social media, check it out. And I'd love to hear from you. And, of course, Jim meant a lot of things to a lot of people. And hockey in Huntington meant a lot of things to a lot of people. And it was just good to talk to a lot of you. I hadn't talked to a few people in a long time. And so the bad news is we were all getting together to talk about Jim. The good news is we were all getting together to talk about Jim. So it was good yesterday to kind of celebrate his life. And we have some more sad news today. Earlier today, the NFL released the news that Jim Brown passed away. He was 87. The statement from the NFL read, on behalf of the entire NFL family, we extend our condolences to Monique and their family. This is from NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell. The statement continues, Jim Brown was a gifted athlete, one of the most dominant players to ever step on any athletic field, but also a cultural figure who helped promote change. During his 9-year NFL career, which coincided with the civil rights movement here at home, he became a forerunner and role model for athletes being involved in social initiatives outside their sport. He inspired fellow athletes to make a difference, especially in the communities in which they lived. That's the statement from the NFL and Commissioner Roger Goodell. Jim Brown inducted in the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 1971, and he was named to the NFL's 100th anniversary all-time team in 2019. And so the debate has always been, who's the best running back of all time? And the conversation always goes back to Jim Brown. You can talk about some of the most outstanding running backs that we have seen come up. Emmitt Smith, for example. You can talk about Emmitt Smith all day. He's definitely in the conversation. You can talk about some of the young kids that are coming up. Maybe they're going to be in the conversation. You can talk about all of these. But I think the conversation has to begin and end with Jim Brown. I mean, Barry Sanders. You can talk about Barry Sanders. But at the end of the day, Jim Brown, he retired on his own accord. He wasn't done physically. He wasn't done as far as what he could have achieved if he wanted to continue. But he had a 9-year career in the NFL, said that's enough. I've done everything I possibly can do that I want to do. I think it's enough. And he stopped. And the bad news is we didn't get to see him further on the football field. The good news is we didn't get to see him in his decline. All athletes decline. It's just nature. As you get older, the demands of the job, well, for a professional athlete, your body is what you put on the line every day. And so Jim Brown got out, had a prolific decade, became the all-time great, and then said he was done. And we didn't have this. We didn't have that, okay, we're going to miss Jim Brown. We're going to celebrate Jim Brown. It's going to be a year-long celebration. He's going to retire. This is going to be the end. No, we didn't have that. It's like Jim was like, I'm done. And so we didn't get to see Jim in the back half of what would have been a tremendous career by any metric. But the good news is he left us wanting more. Is that fair to say? He left us wanting more. And so, one of the all-time greats, you have to put his name in any and all conversations about one of the all-time greats in the National Football League, and he was definitely an inspiration for many a generation. It's a player that a lot of fans who remember his time still talk about. So our condolences, of course, to the family of Jim Brown, and, of course, definitely a icon in the sports world and a giant of the National Football League. So when we continue, we're going to turn our attention to something a little bit closer to home. There's a new project that is going to be happening here in Huntington. It's called the X Dome. And Josh Perkey, who is a friend of the program, he's repping this. And, of course, Josh from his many years of being involved with the Marshall community. He's going to talk to us about this project, what it means, and why you should be excited about it. Also, later on in the program, we're going to hear from one of the standouts of the Marshall track and field team, Mikah Alleyne. She holds the record in the 400-meter hurdles after winning at the Sunbelt Conference Championship last week. We're going to talk to her later on. And we're going to get your text in, 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. All of that's coming up on this edition of The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
This is The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
Welcome back to the Friday, May 19th edition, The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. I want to bring onto the program now. He's an icon when it comes to Marshall athletics. He's also responsible for a lot of the cool gear that the herd is able to wear, and he's part of a project that is happening in Huntington. And the funny thing about this is it's located on 115 Cheshire Way in Huntington. It's not that far from the 930 transmitter, so obviously he wanted to be as close as he possibly could to the radio station to hear me at all times when he's in this thing. It's called the X Dome. Josh Perkey is with us. How are you doing, buddy? You doing okay?
I'm doing great, man. I'm doing fantastic, my man.
I like how you place that. You're like just a few, you can come out of this thing, this dome, and you can see our transmitter site for the radio station. So I feel like there was a planned reason for that.
100% that was part of the planning during our planning sessions, was close enough to the Kindred Communications towers. That was absolutely one of the bullet points on the brainstorming session, for sure.
I knew it. I absolutely knew it. Josh is with us here. It's called the X Dome. Now, he's part of the group that is putting this together. He's helping guide this. Josh has been in youth sports for a long time, of course. Basketball, his specialty. And this is a project that is going to be breaking ground soon. So, first of all, what is the X Dome exactly?
Well, the idea surfaced about a year and a half ago. Our church, Expression Church, which is in the same industrial park where this was going, right off the Interstate 64 West End exit. Our church pastor, Kevin West, is a very sports-oriented person. About a year and a half ago, we kind of got together, and he goes, "I've got some things I want, to pursue." And number one was building a school, Expression Prep Academy. And he said, the second thing I want to do is build a sports facility to go with it. So those are two massive undertakings to take on at one time. But last year we started our school, and we did K through 8 this year with no sports. Next year we're doing K through 12 with sports. So that was kind of the first check mark. The second one was this sports facility. And between travel ball over the years that I've been involved in, and just traveling for my work, and Kevin's son Caden plays a lot of travel sports, and we were just noticing these facilities everywhere in the surrounding larger cities, Lexington, Columbus, Cincinnati, those type places, and we were like, well, why can't we do that here? And Kevin's a guy with a big vision, so he's like, this is what I want to do here. So the plan is it's a 60,000 square foot building that's going to have 4 full-size basketball courts, which doubles as 8 volleyball courts, an indoor practice or an indoor soccer field that we'll use also for football training. It's going to have batting cages for baseball, so that we're going to cover those sports. And some of the things that we're not too familiar with, but we're going to, get our name out there to try to host some things is for wrestling, for cheer. I've got a lot of feedback over the last few days since we've announced this thing about pickleball for the community. Those are really easy conversions on basketball courts. So, we're going to add that as well. But, that's the facility is one thing. Our mission behind the facility is really why we're doing it. And, we're community-based people, we're athletics-based people, and we're trying to get this area off the map for the bad things and get it on the map for the good things. And I've said this on a couple interviews this week that, our church is very involved in the recovery community, and our goal is to put the recovery business out of business. And we feel like we can do that by getting to these kids early, giving them a positive place and a nurturing environment to play sports, to cheer, to work out. So that's really kind of it in a nutshell. When we first got this kind of put together, our church reached out to Marshall University. They did a study on this project, and their guesstimates are 110,000 people are going to visit this thing yearly, an $11 million economic impact for our area here in the west end of Huntington. So add all that together, it's a project that's near and dear to our heart, but it's also a project that we feel that will just absolutely change my end of town here in Westmoreland, and we couldn't be more thrilled about it.
Are there plans to expand if this goes well, or are we still a little early on that?
I think we're a little early. I think the natural expansion would be pairing up with the baseball fields that are next door, that are built on the same property as you pointed out, the Kindred Communication Towers there. Maybe go the baseball route down the road, but this is a pretty big first bite, so we're gonna see if we can't digest this one first, and then move on to the outdoor stuff. But the indoor is where we wanted to start with this for several reasons, but the travel circuit for volleyball and basketball, we're very much on the pulse on that. We've got connections on those circuits that can help us fill the calendar on the weekends. So those were kind of the first 2 big bites we wanted to take. And again, we're going to try to hammer out some wrestling, some in those indoor soccer. So those are kind of where we're starting. But yes, Swanee, I think that'll be a natural expansion down the road.
When you look at this project, you mentioned there's an indoor soccer field, there's courts for basketball, those can be converted into volleyball. You mentioned pickleball here. Who benefits the most from this? Is this something that you're trying to attract people to, or is this something that is trying to fill a void that we don't necessarily have in our greater area? Is there a comparable facility like this close by that maybe you can reference, or is this something that is going to be solely unique at this time to Huntington and our tri-state area?
It's definitely going to be unique to our area for sure. The number one purpose of this is to pair up with our school, where we will play all of our varsity and middle school sports in for basketball, volleyball, soccer down the road. This first year that we're adding sports at the Expression Prep Academy, we're going to do middle school, high school basketball, girls, boys, and middle school, high school volleyball, and then add a track team in the spring just to meet our SSAC requirements when we get to that point. Obviously, we're not going to be there in year one, but those are requirements that you have to become part of that. But so that's number one, is to pair up with Expression Prep Academy. Number two is definitely to fill a void in the community with a positive facility that we're going to have conference rooms in there for meetings if you need it. And gym time, Swanee, around here is tough. My years at Benson, we had one gym to cover girls, boys basketball, cheer, baseball if it rains, band concerts. So we're going to be able to reach out into the community and pair up with other schools that can help, that can use this thing during the week. Because our goal is to have it booked on the weekends to help us pay for it. Because unfortunately, my good looks is not going to pay for this thing. It actually takes dollars and cents. So I wish that was the case, but it's not. So we got to get this thing booked on the weekends to help us pay for it. But community outreach, being a partner with these local schools that can help, that can use it, local churches that need to use it, and then obviously using it for our school purposes.
So the goal ultimately here is to be multi-purpose, community-based, also for the Prep Academy. What's the timetable for because I'm sure there are a lot of people maybe are not familiar with the Expression Prep Academy, what the timetable is for it to be, I don't want to say fully functional, but able to fully serve. So what's the
Sure.
timetable there? And for people who are interested in hearing about this for the first time and think this might be something that they're interested in, they want to be a part of, want their children to be a part of, what will be the process?
The process is basically at this point reaching out to our director there, Stephanie Sprague. We can get you some telephone numbers, contact information for her. But it's a micro school, and again, we were in year one with just the academics. But sports, Swanee, this better than anybody, is all about enrollment. So right now we're trying to get the word out for the academy to have a enrollment to where it will support athletics. Last year's enrollment has already doubled for this year, but adding enough kids to field all those sports sounds great, but we don't know that until August rolls around and we start school. But the enrollment is already going up since the last couple of weeks, since we've been promoting this new facility, promoting the school. So those are things that they're a little bit out of our hands at this point. But so as far as timeline goes, if we have plenty of people, plenty of students to fill those teams, we'll play full blast next year. But I think this is a long-term goal for our athletic department, for our school, for our church, to build it in a responsible way. If that's year one, great. If it's year two, that's probably more likely. But again, that's totally based on enrollment. We're ready to go. We've got a group of motivated individuals at church and our school that are ready for sports. We're ready to go. We're all sports-minded people, so we're ready to go if that's the case. But I feel like and the timetable also is kind of got moved a little bit because of the dome construction part of it. And, initially we wanted to get this thing built in time for basketball season, get it up for this year. The permit process, EPA studies, all those type of things take a little bit longer than I anticipated, or maybe our staff did not. But I'm a full-blown gas pedal down all the way down to the floor. Let's roll with this. But it doesn't work that way when you're building something like this. And it's basically a 60,000 square foot piece of concrete that you have to pour, and then you build the structure on top of it. And obviously that depends on weather. That depends on, how long it takes the concrete to cure because this thing's temperature and climate control. We're having wood flooring for the basketball courts. So, you got wet concrete underneath, wooden floors. That doesn't work very well. So there's a little bit of a moving time frame, I would call it. But we're ready to go year one. We'll find places to play. If the dome's not ready, we've got plenty of partners in the community with the schools and churches that we'll have a place to play for them if we have the kids.
And You've been talking about, at least on your personal social media accounts, so we'll talk about it here. This is a little bit more possible now. You couldn't have done this maybe a few years ago.
Yes, it is not. It is something that, our church has always had this a vision of doing this thing, and our pastor Kevin does not take no for an answer, and money and the economy and the recessions and interest rates. We just kind of barrel through those things. We raise the donations and all those type of things that kind of it makes you behind the eight ball here. But when you have a vision and a passion for something, you got the right group of people and the right idea and the right faith and all those type of things, and then anything's possible. And that's kind of how this thing is. That's how we work over there. Again, we're very sports oriented. On Sunday mornings when Pastor Kevin starts his sermon, it starts out, did Marshall win? Did Ohio State win? Did Kentucky win? And Pastor Kevin's a big UK fan, and he's had a tough couple of years for basketball season. So he leads off with those things, but that's what we're passionate about. But it's also an avenue to reach these kids and show them that there's other things to do than video games and getting in trouble and all those type of things. And again, the drug problem here in our region's bad, and we're trying to put the recovery business out of business. And so it's been our dream and vision. And Monday morning we're going to be digging a hole, so it's becoming a reality, which is super exciting for us.
Good luck on digging the hole. I'm sure the track portion of this will be something that people locally will be excited about as well. And I'm using that as a tease for our next guest coming up in the next few minutes, Mikah Alleyne from Marshall's Track and Field Squad. I know you're excited that men's track and field is now a thing again at Marshall, and the women doing some tremendous work, and this might just feed right into track at Marshall. And I'm sure there are a lot of kids who will love the opportunity to have that as well, on top of everything else that this is going to be about.
Sure. And Coach Small is one of my close friends. Coach Small was actually the track coach whenever I was at Marshall. It sounds bad, 23, 24 years ago, and he's still there, still doing well. He built a track inside of the indoor practice facility for football. So a rising tide raises all ships. We feel like any way we can help Marshall or Marshall can help us, we'd love to pair with them on anything like that. Just if they need a spot, we need a spot. We're here to work with them, and we're all big Marshall people. And like you very, very kindly said, a Marshall icon. I think that's a little bit of a stretch, but you're a good man, a good friend. But I do bleed green, so anything we can do to help the herd, we'll do it.
We'll bring you back soon so we can have some more time, talk a little bit more about the details, and follow up with you on this. But it's the X Dome, and it's going to be right next to the Expression Church, and there's a lot coming out, I'm sure, here in the next few weeks that we'll definitely get you back on and talk about. And I'm excited for you, man. Congratulations on this.
Thank you, man. Groundbreaking Monday, 10 a.m., 115 Cheshire. We'll have the mayor, a bunch of dignitaries. We've got senators. We've got all kinds of people going to be there that's welcome to the public as well.
Thanks, Josh. Talk to you soon, buddy.
Thanks, Swanee.
Josh Perkey, the groundbreaking is Monday for the X Dome, and there's going to be a lot that will be part of that that's going to benefit not only the community but sports in general in the area. When we continue, Mikah Alleyne, Marshall Track, joining us on the program. We'll talk about her winning the 400-meter hurdles, moving on to the NCAA East prelims, and we'll get your text in, 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255, when we continue with this edition of The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
This is The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
Welcome back to the Friday, May 19th edition, The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. We've been talking track a lot this week because we've got several outstanding student athletes to talk about, and we're wrapping up the week with Mikah Alleyne. She is a senior from Beckley, and she now holds the record in the 400-meter hurdle. She won at the Sun Belt Conference Championship last week with a 57.77. I almost shaved off a couple of tenths of a second on you. Mikah is with us now on the program. Can you go faster? 57.77, is that the ultimate? Can you go faster?
I believe that I could go faster for sure. Yes.
Okay, so you still have maybe, you know, how fast do you think you can reach? What's realistic?
I feel as though I could reach the 56s, like mid, low 56. Maybe even faster than that.
Okay, I've got to ask you this question. Yesterday we had Coach Bowen on, and I asked him for some help here in talking with you. Wanted to know what's something I can ask you, get some insight that maybe I wouldn't know to ask, and he just wanted me to ask you about what your true feelings were. Apparently, you didn't express these enough. He wanted to know what your true feelings were after winning the 400.
I was honestly surprised, like not like that I won, but like more so my time wise, because I actually was just like focused on running and executing to win. So whenever I saw that I PR'd and I've been waiting for a PR all season long, I was it's very surreal to know that you put all this work in and then you finally achieve the goals that you have for yourself.
Has it changed since? Maybe you've allowed yourself to go from being surprised to what are you feeling now? Has it changed? Where are you at now? Now that this has passed you and you're moving ahead toward the NCAA East prelims.
It just fills me with more confidence in myself, knowing that I'm capable of doing the hard things. Yeah. So, getting ready for first round, we've already ran at UNF, so it's good that we already have a feel for that track, and I've already ran on that track previous before. Uh, so I'm just really excited to see what I can do and being able to run with people who are just as good as me, if not better, and just show what Marshall has to offer.
Do you remember what your time was on that track?
It was a low 59. It was that literally just started outdoor season, so it wasn't horrible, but it wasn't great either.
For a lot of people, a 59 is fantastic. You have been under a minute and all 6 occasions in which you ran the 400-meter hurdles this season. That's not easy to do. A lot of people can't do that in 2 minutes, and you're doing it in under a minute, and you think you can get to the 56 mark. What do you do at this point? You don't have that much time between the Sun Belt Conference championships to the East prelim. So how do you get yourself ready to go right back at it and even improve on that?
For sure, just listening to your body and not doing too much. Getting plenty of rest, nourishing your body, doing recovery, and things like that. Really, more so, it's more of a mindset for me. If I keep a positive mentality and be optimistic, because I know I can do it, I know I'm capable of doing it, and just having the support around me just to reassure me makes it a lot easier for me to compete and do what I need to do. So that's how I prepare myself for races and stuff like that.
What are you expecting from the East prelims? What can you tell us? What people should understand about how this event rolls and what you need to do to be successful at it?
Well, for anybody who's ran the 400 hurdles, it's not one that you can like predict what happens. It's literally anybody's race. Anything could happen. You could fall. You could trip over a hurdle. Just little things like that, stutter step. And it's not more so of like how to prepare. It's more so like how you go into it. Just being positive, because you cannot think a negative thought or really think too much during the race at all, or it's just not going to go your way whatsoever.
All right, so now I'm going to have to ask, what's your process? Maybe you can help someone else with focus, because that's something that a lot of people struggle with. And in a sport like the 400-meter hurdle, if you don't have focus, you don't have anything. So what's your process as far as putting yourself in that right mindset and overcoming, maybe the fear, the doubt that, as you mentioned, anything could happen. So to get focused, to prepare, what's your process?
For me personally, I like to listen to music, and just be as positive as I can be. So, like, if that's like listening to gospel music or just upbeat songs and stuff like that, I also do a lot of positive self talk to myself. as little as you can do hard things like I'm capable, I'm strong, I'm brave, things like that. And you would think that it sounds silly when I first heard about it, and I was like, I don't think that's going to work. But once you do it time and time again, it gets easier, and you start to believe yourself, kind of fake it till you make it and whatnot.
Joining us on the program is Mikah Alleyne. She is the 400-meter champion of the Sun Belt. And you mentioned that positive talk, that making sure you don't say negative things. It's self-fulfilling prophecy. If you're saying negative things, you're going to fulfill that negative vibe. Did you find that there were tangible results when you started doing that? Is that you say fake it till you make it? You already were having success, but did you find that when you discovered how to do that, you saw maybe better results, more gains on the track?
Yeah, I definitely do feel like I have seen a lot of improvement. My coaches told me that he's seen me run free. So I definitely do feel happier whenever I run. It's not as scary, it's not as nerve-wracking. Definitely not as nervous as I used to be before I started doing the positive self-talk, and just finding a regimen that works out for me, because my past indoor season wasn't the greatest, and it was a lot of anxiety and negativity, and it was a very hard time to get out of. But once I figured it out, it made track more enjoyable again, and I love running. So being in a hardship was very hard, but yeah, taking the time to figure out what works for you as a runner makes a big difference. And so I suggest to every runner or any person that's struggling mentally in their sport, just finding what works for you in a positive way helps out in the long run.
Mikah Alleyne's with us. She is the 400-meter hurdle champion, Sun Belt Championship last week, and you get to add the distinction of having some of the first championships won in the Sun Belt Conference. We had a couple of days ago on the program Macy Mayjoy. She won the pole vault, and not only the indoor but the outdoor. Does it feel good to finally be on that list as well? Because we've been all waiting for championships to be won in the Sun Belt, and you're among one of the first people to win one. And for a while, she was hogging all the trophies.
Yeah, it feels great to join the championship club. And coming from Conference USA to the Sun Belt and already having a title from the Conference USA, and not being able to do that indoor, but being able to do it outdoor, just shows me that even through hard times, your work isn't diminished. You can still achieve great things and still struggle, and that's okay to struggle. That's just a part of life. But finding your way through it and not giving up is what makes victory more enjoyable.
You also were named Sun Belt First Team All-Conference, so you get to add a little bit more to your resume. Did you find the transition from Conference USA to the Sun Belt a little bit more challenging, or was it just different?
I would just say it's just different because, there aren't any expectations going from one conference to a new one because they don't know who you are. So
really, it's more about your journey than the opponent, because you don't see them. It's not like basketball or football where you line up against these other teams and you're competing directly. They can run as fast as they run, but you got to do your part, or it doesn't mean anything, and the jersey doesn't matter. There's no rivalries in track the way there are in other sports.
Right.
Mikah Alleyne's with us. Go ahead, Mikah.
No, you're fine. I completely agree with that, especially when you get to such a big level, such as first round, the East Preliminaries, Nationals, however far you go. You have to look at it every sport has a superstar that you see in their event or whatever, but you got to think of it as they're not worried about you, so you kind of can't worry about them either. And that's how I look at it. That's how I'm looking at it now for first round, since this is my third year going. No matter how big the person may be, how popular they may be out in the media, I'm just as good as them.
What kind of experience have you passed on to maybe some of the first-timers showing up at the prelims, because Marshall's fortunate to have several student-athletes go to the East prelims. So are you sort of the de facto leader of the group, talking them through it, explaining what they can expect?
I would say, like, I can give a little bit of insight. I mean, each year that I've went, it's more of like a learning experience, and I'm telling them, like, just to take it all in. It's a very surreal moment. Like you see, like I said before, it's like they're celebrities in my eyes, because you see them on TV all the time. You're like, oh my gosh, like they're literally right in front of me. I get to compete against them. But also take it as an enjoyable moment, because it may be the last time you get to run against them. So.
My guess is Mikah Alleyne. She is the record holder in the 400-meter hurdles, winning the Sunbelt Championship last week with the 57.77. I already accidentally shaved off a couple of tenths, so you got to get to 56 now at least. That's the goal.
Yeah.
What would that mean for you? Where are you ultimately hoping to get to, time-wise? And, of course, obviously you want to progress, get out of the prelims, and go to the next level and the next level. But, what are you personally hoping to achieve?
Just honestly, I really want to go to nationals. This has been a 3-year-in-the-making process. And my goal is to just run as freely as confidently as possible to get there. And even if I don't get there, I just want to be proud and feel achieved with myself.
Good luck. I know, you're no stranger to this, but good luck. Hopefully we can see a faster time. And again, 57.77 is fast. You've been under a minute all season long, so you haven't been slow out there at all. A lot of people will never see that type of speed, especially. I'm sure a lot of people couldn't make 57.77 without the hurdles. So you're lightning fast out there, and hopefully we're talking about you moving on after the prelims. And so if that's the case, I want you back. So if you can get to the next level, I get to have you back. So can we make that deal?
Sure.
Good luck. Have fun with everyone. I know this is a special time for you, and again, it's an amazing journey we've seen with track and field at Marshall, and you've been one of the leaders. And congratulations once again.
Thank you so much.
That's Mikah Alleyne. She is going to be at the East prelims. She's going to shave some time off that 57.77. I couldn't run that. If you took the hurdles off the track, I'm sure most people couldn't do that, and especially under a minute. We're going to get your text in, 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. Our final segment's coming up on this edition of The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
This is The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
We are wrapping up this edition of The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. I'm your host, Paul Swann. Plenty of time for your text. We'll do that now at 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. We'll do it like a lightning round if you want to try to get them in before we're done. And if you are listening on our podcast, you can find me on Twitter at Paul Swann. That was fun. I'm not the world's foremost expert when it comes to track and field, but that was fun, and I think I learned a couple of things as well talking to Mikah Alleyne, and it was great to have a couple of days ago Macy Mayjoy on the program, so that was good. Hopefully we can do more of that, and I'm hoping that the track and field team can have some more success at the East prelims coming up. Baseball is getting underway for the Thundering Herd as the season is about to end. Hopefully next season we'll have a lot more success in a brand new facility. So looking forward to seeing that completed sooner than later. And let's hope that baseball has a better season, but taking on Coastal. So Coastal still has something to play for, the Thundering Herd, of course, not just playing for pride at this point. And still there's nothing wrong with that. Baseball action coming up tonight here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. The Pittsburgh Pirates are back in action. They're going to be playing host to Arizona. 6:35 is going to be first pitch. You can listen to it here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. And I'm sure a lot of you are excited for the NBA As tonight, Game 2, Miami and Boston. We're going to have that game on our sister station, Kent Sports, 93.3 and 1340. And, of course, last night, the 6th longest game in NHL history, 4 overtimes, almost went into 5. Florida finally defeated Carolina 3-2. Yours truly could not hang. I tried. I was close. I could not do it. I tried. And that's going to do it for this edition. Thanks for tuning in. I'll be back with you on Monday. I believe this is a preview of Monday's show. I believe we are locked in with Marshall men's soccer coach Chris Grassi. We're going to talk about the schedule. We're going to talk about things happening with the program. That's coming up on Monday. We're trying to get Paul Swann on later this week as well. We're going to hopefully talk softball as well next week. And, of course, we're going to talk to you. So we'll see you next week. Thanks for tuning in. And if you're on social media, if you would, give me a follow on Twitter at Paul Swann. I'd really appreciate it. Have a great night, everyone.
WRBC Huntington, W227BS Huntington. This is your radio home for Pittsburgh Pirates baseball, ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.